All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Rose Spickler. I'm the membership manager of Michigan's Great Southwest Sustainable Business Forum and the West Michigan Sustainable Business Forum. And I'm very pleased to welcome you to today's meeting. I do wish that we had the opportunity to meet in person for our annual meeting, but thank you all so much for joining us virtually. I would like to take a moment before we start to give a special thank you to JB Hoyt, a founding member of Michigan's Great Southwest Sustainable Business Forum. We are very sad and excited to announce that JB is moving away from the region to Northern Michigan, but we would like to say thank you on behalf of the forum. Best wishes on your next chapter, and make sure that you keep in contact. Maybe we'll have a dedicated Michigan's Great Northern Sustainable Business Forum regional program soon. JB has been a dedicated member of the forum since the very beginning and has helped shape the organization into what it is today. He actually received the Sustainable Business Hall of Fame award in 2018. And speaking of the Hall of Fame, we have a brand new inductee into our Sustainable Business Hall of Fame. For the first time ever, we are awarding a Future Sustainable Business Hall of Fame award to an honoree, which recognizes a local professional whose work in the sustainability field is worthy of note and acclamation, and is the emerging professional equivalent to its Sustainable Business Hall of Fame. Michigan's Great Southwest Sustainable Business Forum has named Kelly McElroy, who is a senior nuclear engineer at Indiana Michigan Power and the host of the sustainabiliME podcast. And to present this award, we have Maureen Stroud. Maureen, you can take it away.
Sure, thank you, Rose. My name's Maureen Stroud, and I'm one of the board members of Michigan's Great Southwest Sustainable Business Forum. And on behalf of the board, I would like to recognize Kelly McElroy's contributions to sustainability in the region. We decided as a board to create the Southwest Michigan Future Sustainable Business Hall of Fame Award this year. And it was unanimously discussed, and Kelly's name came up by almost everybody on the board, related to all of her work in developing her sustainabiliME podcast. She launched the podcast in April of 2019 and has consistently been sharing stories of different people within the region and the greater Midwest, as well as bringing in really interesting speakers, even when she's traveling abroad on her trips around the world on vacation. So it's been really interesting to listen and to see the podcast grow and to learn from Kelly's speakers, and also from her and Jason Schneeman, her husband, who's a frequent guest on the podcast. And with 85 episodes to date, it's a big accomplishment in bringing a lot of focus on sustainability within the region and giving the greater Southwest Michigan region a voice and a platform for talking about local and global issues on sustainability. So with that, I'd like to present this award to Kelly McElroy, and really wish you luck on building the podcast, and also, building a community around sustainability within this region. So thank you for all of your efforts in bringing everybody together and sharing the messages on your podcast.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate this. It's a huge honor for me to receive this award. And I mean, I've always been passionate about sustainability, and it's been great working at the DC Cook nuclear power plant here in Southwest Michigan and helping be part of the carbon-free energy portfolio. And I think a lot of people can relate to feeling the doom and gloom in the news related to the environment and sustainability. And I really wanted to bring some positive stories from a lot of people who are part of this forum and showcase the great work that people in Southwest Michigan and, really all over the world are doing, because there are some positive stories, and I think we can all learn from each other. And so I really want to thank everyone who's been part of it, especially my husband, Jason Schneeman, who is also very passionate about sustainability and has been a huge help in finding some positive stories every single month that we can highlight together. So thank you guys so much for giving me this award.
We are honored to be able to give you the award. So congratulations, and thank you again for all of your work that you do. It's very, very wonderful. All right. Sorry about that. So getting into a couple of different things for our annual business report. First and foremost, if you're not familiar with the organization, Michigan Great Southwest Sustainable Business Forum educates, engages, and empowers our community to more equally value environmental stewardship, social responsibility, and economic growth. So I'd like to provide a brief update on our forum. Our executive director, Daniel Schoonmaker, had intended to provide these remarks, but is instead participating in a funeral at this time, unfortunately. So we'll go ahead and pretty exciting. This December marks our 5th year with MGSSBF and the 4th since the merger between the Michigan's Great Southwest Sustainable Business Forum and West Michigan Sustainable Business Forum. We are very, very excited for the continued growth of the organization and the good work that our members are doing to promote sustainability and sustainable business in the community. Speaking of our continued growth, recently we came together over the past several months. We worked with a group of key members and stakeholders to develop a new strategic plan for MGSSBF. And some of the things that we came up with, as you can see on these slides, we are intending to serve as Southwest Michigan's Organization for Sustainability and Sustainable Business, aggregate resources and provide mentorship for small and medium-sized businesses to encourage adoption of sustainable business practices, promote justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion in local businesses and in the community, educating on best practice and policy while elevating positive stories. Also included in the strategic plan, we plan to encourage improvements in recycling practice and local infrastructure and investment toward the creation of a circular economy in the area, educate local businesses, institutions, and the community on ways to address climate change, and encourage adoption of sustainability practices in local government. I'd really like to thank everyone that participated in this effort to come together to create and develop the new strategic plan. Some of those people were Anna Horner, Becky, I apologize for any mispronunciations of names as I go through this. Anna Horner, Becky Waymer, Becky Kliss, Carissa Patrone, Dana Cooper Hayes, David Bunty, David LaFour, Marcy Hamilton, Jason Schneeman, JB Hoyt, Jim Roberts, Kim Jorgensen Gain, Chris Martin, Krista Bailey, Chris Marek, Maureen Stroud, Milton Mondaro, Rachel Smith, and Walt Pullins. And I apologize if we are missing anybody, but thank you everyone for your work coming together to create that strategic plan. We are disappointed that we have not had an opportunity to see any of you at a forum or at Green Drinks since the spring. We really look forward to the time when we can do so again. And on that note, I'd like to share our upcoming event plans. We will be hosting some task force meetings online on the 3rd Wednesday of each month when there is not another event. So our next one coming up is January 20th, and the following would be March 17th. And as anyone is welcome, they're open to anyone with an interest in attending. Our next forum event will be February 17th with an event celebrating Earth Day following that on April 20th or 21st. And that is, 21st or 22nd. And that's a celebration of Earth Day. Then on May 19th, we are hoping to kick off our Green Drinks once again with an outdoor event and continue that series with outdoor events throughout the summer. And then we'll also be launching 2 roundtables in early 2021, a Southwest Michigan Sustainable Business Roundtable focused on industrial and commercial interests, and a social and environmental justice roundtable. And if you have any interest in any of these meetings, please feel free to email me and let me know, and we can get you involved in the task force. We can get you registered for the forum events or involved with the roundtable discussions as well. We did make the difficult decision to postpone our Great Green Gala, unfortunately, to the fall or spring of 2021. So please keep an eye out for details on that. We are very excited to move forward with that. We believe we have really exciting plans in store for 2021 and hope that you'll continue to be a part of them. Although these are really challenging times, like Kelly mentioned, we believe the forum is well positioned to offer value to our local community. We are continually expanding our membership. So if you're interested in becoming a member of MGSSBF as well, we would be happy to speak with you about that too. So thank you so much for your support. So that's it for our annual updates. We are hosting this meeting as well as an online forum featuring a panel discussion on the state of sustainability in Southwest Michigan. We're going to examine the current trends that will drive sustainable businesses in 2021 and the growing need to invest in sustainability and social justice as part of a local post-COVID economy. I'd like to take the opportunity at this time to introduce our panel to you. We have Ron Voglewede, who is the Global Sustainability Director for Whirlpool Corporation. Art Toy, who is the President of 4 Elements Energy Incorporated. Kelly McElroy, who you've met, but is the Senior Nuclear Engineer at Indiana Michigan Power and the host of the sustainabiliME podcast. And Brendan Maloney, who is joining us from Kalamazoo as the Sustainability Coordinator for Bronson Healthcare. So very excited about this panel. I'd like to give all of you the opportunity at this time to introduce yourselves and to say a little bit about yourselves and what you do and how you got involved in sustainability. Art, why don't you go ahead and start?
Oh, well, thank you, Rose. Appreciate the invite. Just a little background. Spent almost 25 years with Pfizer, then took a package, spent the last 12 years now running our business of installing renewable energy systems. And what we found in the last few years, thanks to Elon Musk, that we are now transitioning from lead acid battery systems to lithium, which is a game changer since a lot of our old clients we're not the best at maintaining lead acid batteries. And with the advent of lithium ion, it has really reduced the number of service calls. And I would say, if you've noticed the number of EV vehicles along the I-94 corridor, I think the future is here, and there we could, as an organization, maybe take some initiatives to improve EV charging throughout this corridor here, which is a choke point between Detroit and Chicago.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Kelly?
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm Kelly McElroy. I've got the podcast sustainabiliME, working at the Cook plant. And again, I'm just very passionate about sustainability and all of the great things that are happening. I know we'll get into this a little bit more, but sustainability and environmental progress has not stopped during this pandemic. And there's a lot of really positive things to be proud of, even in our local communities. And so I'm just really excited to be on this panel today to talk more about that.
Wonderful. And Ron?
Sure, thanks. Ron Voglewede here. Been with Whirlpool about 24 and a half years now, I guess. So longstanding Whirlpoolite, if you will, in Southwest Michigan here, and have the distinct honor of really representing not only a core group of sustainability professionals in Whirlpool, but also a broad range of, quite frankly, a great corporate culture that Whirlpool has had for over 50 years of really bringing social and environmental concerns to the forefront and leading by example in what we do and what we try to progress, both in 3 main areas, really: our products and our plants. So how do we make sustainable products and resilient and sustainable and self-sufficient plants, but also doing it in all the different practices that we do throughout the organization. So I think the key here is sustainability is not a function, but it's really a mindset. So how do we bring life cycle approaches to all facets of Whirlpool? And quite frankly, we interact with every single function at Whirlpool, but also have the distinct honor of really bringing out all that great work that all those different from engineering to procurement to sales and marketing to the forefront, and what you see both in our reporting and sustainability reports and rewards and rankings, but also and more importantly to the communities and to the people and our employees. So proud to be here. Thank you for hosting such a great event and keeping that light shining and brightly in Southwest Michigan as Michigan really comes to the forefront, quite honestly, in this conversation. And hopefully we can continue to position it as one great person told me, not as a flyover state anymore, but really the crux of maybe what is to become really I would say the thought leader in the space of sustainability in business.
Wonderful, thank you. And Brendan.
Thanks, Rose. My name is Brendan Maloney. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator at Bronson Healthcare Group. I've been there for about 6 years now. Started as an intern and then put together a return on investment for my job and kind of have been there since. So I kind of manage everything from energy, waste, and now we're kind of getting into the mobility scene and trying to figure out where our employees live. Healthcare is a huge employer and has huge spaces throughout in facilities. And so we try to leverage those resources to make great impacts within any community that we're in. So happy to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here and participating with this panel. We've got some questions we're going to go through, just a kind of an informal dialogue and an open conversation for any thoughts that you might have. And if anyone has any questions throughout the session, please put them in the question and answer a little box at your bottom or in the chat, and we will address those more toward the end of the session. So let's start out with what have we learned as business leaders and sustainability practitioners this year? Brendan, do you want to kick that one off?
Yeah, we've learned a little bit in healthcare and have had to go through a little bit. But what's really fascinating about my job is because, you know, infectious diseases like this aren't really different from what we do on a day-to-day basis. But the scale that we've had to deal with things has been very, very difficult. And so, you know, with single-use items in the hospital is probably one of our biggest impact points, where we're going through single-use curtains, gowns, masks, all those different things. And so part of what I've been trying to do is find alternatives that we can launder and actually reuse. But it's been tricky. So there's been a lot of impacts, including, you know, chemicals. I've approved countless chemicals into the hospital because we're cleaning things differently. We need to kind of process our business in different ways. And we've broken down furniture because we've used wrong chemicals and things like that. So kind of in many different ways, our business has been affected, and probably in the most severe is just employees and the impact on the people in our hospital. So.
Maybe I'll jump in here real quick. This is Ron here. You know, I think one thing I've learned this year, it's actually been quite a revelation for those internally, and quite frankly, something we've been waiting on is the voice of the investor. And, you know, as a large multinational, we knew the time would come, but it was quite frank, quite honestly, to see how much pressure and how quickly that pressure came from our investor base and also from other stakeholders, quite frankly, around the aspects of environment, but also social and governance. So this idea of ESG that's becoming the new name or face of sustainability in the eyes of the investors, at least. I've done more investor calls in the last 6 months than in the last 24 years of my career. So, and by a long shot, and in the sense and the depth of the questions and the knowledge of them is really driving it. And it's, I guess it brings all new meaning to the Wolf of Wall Street kind of comments, because if there's one little drop of let's say, advantage in the marketplace, it is quite a feeding frenzy in that sense. And what I think we've learned is that doing well for the environment and going from just doing good to being good on these aspects is a real asset to companies, big or small, and that it is truly a differentiator. And Wall Street's seeing it now. We've already started to see it with consumers and our customer base, our retailers. And it really is an acceleration to, we used to talk about license to operate, but what I've learned is it's really turning into a license to exist. And so what I keep talking about to our senior leadership is, as a company, you're not guaranteed a right to operate. And with the demands that we're seeing in the role of business and society, whether it's social justice, environmental justice, those type of things, really coming to the forefront, you all have an important role, no matter what part of the company you're in, what you're leading, or what industry you're in. And I think COVID has only brought that to the forefront, that we have an obligation, an ethical, moral, and also business obligation now to really perform in this area. And I think that's been the quite frankly, both heartening and energizing and also scary all at the same point, because it is quite rapid and fast, and we are seeing it. And I think it's interesting to see in COVID, everybody thought, going in, it would be, environment's just going to drop off and it's all going to be about health. And in fact, actually, it just accelerated everything. It was pouring kerosene on the fire, and people understood what it meant to this idea of a license to operate, and what I'm calling now a license to exist. And I think people really have to think of it that way. You cannot not do this, and you cannot not do it well, if you really want to have a position or a place in business today. And I think it's key for everyone to understand that. So, for me, it is about how do you bring all those aspects to the forefront and communicate that to your stakeholders in a relevant way. And you'll see a lot more of that from us here soon.
Well, I'm going to echo many of Ron's comments there, from how our clients are approaching us in this COVID era. It's actually given people a pause to actually think deeper about where they're obtaining their materials. Especially, we're getting questions as far as societal and sustainability regarding materials that we use for our projects. One example is, of course, the batteries. There's this push and pull regarding lithium batteries with and without cobalt, with all the inherent social injustices involved with mining cobalt. So we who can provide guidance to our clients, well, if you source from this type of technology, you can eliminate the use of cobalt, but at the cost of lowered energy density. And this is the cost, versus, well, you want the highest energy density, but the cost at this time is that the technology requires cobalt. Do you wish to do that? And invariably, our clients have chosen the sides of not choosing technologies that involve child labor within the supply chain. So it's encompassing upon us to educate our clients what impacts they have on society regarding sustainability, social justice, and how it's going to impact also ultimately their pocketbook, whether they're willing to make that extra effort here. And at this time of COVID, people are actually having the time to think about what and how they want to approach their projects.
Yeah, from my end, I'm more obviously like just an individual in the community that's trying to look at what's going on. And I think we can all agree that we all probably entered 2020 with some goals in mind and some expectations of what this year was going to be like, and then pretty much had to toss that out. And I think the biggest thing that we're all having to do now is pivot. I've heard that term pretty much all year now. and we're all adapting to our new norms, and then, you know, things change again and you have to adapt to a new norm again. And I remember back in March, April timeframe, looking at the environmental aspects of everything and thinking, okay, how these businesses are all struggling. I thought solar was just going to be kaput. Like, how are people going to put all these solar panels up? But now it's actually taking off. I don't know, Art, if you're experiencing that as well.
Yes and no, because of the requirements from the Department of Labor in regards to social distancing and masking. It's very difficult to coordinate projects, in that you have to have on the job site a COVID manager to monitor everyone's entry and exit points, ensure that they have proper masking, ensuring that they are maintaining social distancing, disinfecting tools if they're sharing wrenches and torque wrenches, if they're sharing wire cutters. Those are things we never, ever took into effect pre-COVID. But now I want to do that because, number one, I want to go back to my family safely. I want my crews to go back home safely. I don't want to spread the infection and be a super spreader event here. So the desire from the client hasn't diminished, but we have to take much more precautions to prevent the spread of this infection.
Exactly. And that goes back to pivoting. And it's what I find really amazing, though, is that you have been able to continue your business and continue putting solar out there and contributing to our clean energy portfolio. So that's taken off. Then you move on a little bit into the summer, and we saw all of the social race issues taking place. And then you look at that related to, you know, COVID and the climate. And I actually did not necessarily realize this. This was something I learned over the summer by reading this article by Dr. Ayanna Johnson about how people of color can't necessarily always focus on the climate when they're trying to focus on, you know, the race struggles. And so I thought that was something interesting that I never really realized before. And so I tried to learn a little bit more about that. And to be honest, I don't think I've heard more about social justice than I have in the last few months. And I think that's a positive thing, that we're starting these conversations. So you're hitting the environment, the social part, the business part Ron's talked about. That's going back to the triple bottom line, people, planet, prosperity. And I think that's just very, very positive that we're having these conversations. And Brendan, you talked about, you know, the waste streams of the hospitals, and that's been another concern that I've been having. And then you see that in the restaurant industry, we're all eating out and having to deal with that. And so that's just, these are all these problems that we're trying to think about, reflect on, and again, we have to figure out how to pivot to make it better.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those odd things with from the waste standpoint. I mean, when in healthcare, there's so many different waste streams you're never recycling. I mean, between pharmaceuticals, regulated medical waste, any of that trace chemo waste or anything like that, it's kind of alarming how much is actually generated. And we try to break everything down based off of patient bed day, and we've seen our waste numbers just skyrocket because of COVID. So just because so much more PPEs having to be worn, and the industry standard from a safety point is single-use items, and it's really hard to push back against that. And I hope in the future, because of supply chain issues, that we can push back against that, and healthcare can say, we need to reprocess some of these items and have closer knit supply chain, because we can't rely on single-use items to just be restocked constantly if something like this is going to happen. So.
Absolutely. Thank you all for all of that input, and tying that all together. I guess from there we can hop right into the next question that really relates to that. So how do we challenge the forum and our region to respond to some of these issues and opportunities? Let's see, Ron, would you like to take the lead on that one?
Sure. I mean, I think, it's a great question, because, and it's one I get quite often, is, how do we on an individual basis contribute, right? When we're talking about planetary scale issues, you're talking about these huge issues like, COVID and some of the, the effects of it, single-use plastics, those kind of things. And I would say you have to take a fundamental step forward. And I like, Kelly's approach, quite honestly, is to break it down to the individual. And I think you have to. And I think all of us have a role to play in how this community can respond and be, quite frankly, a leader in the space. And I think I sit in a sustainability forum in Michigan with all the chief sustainability officers at all the large corporations in Michigan here, and it's overwhelming to see the positivity of the fact that Michigan has been a leader and has an opportunity both in a blue economy space and a natural resource space and others, and even what some of our quite frankly great startups and others are doing. And I think we have both the chance and opportunity as Southwest Michigan, having a lot of innovative companies and thought leaders in the space here, is to come to the forefront and do that. And it takes collaboration. I think it takes a little bit of courage to step out and to, quite frankly, to start to support some of those things that are happening, whether it be local policy and activities, whether it be, curbside recycling, solar and homes, PACE, some of those things that are at the forefront today. How do we bring that to the table? And I think for me, it's not waiting for someone to tell you. I think it's going and experimenting. What I didn't tell you about myself was I was an inventor for many years for Whirlpool, and it really is talking about going ahead and putting forth those, and having the courage to put forth some ideas and letting it build, and starting to make those connections with others to really solution out. We found ways to recycle and make energy out of PPE in our plants to maintain our zero waste. We figured out different ways to do that because we reached out and learned a lot in lots of different areas. And I think that's what this forum, and I think if we use it as a forum just to talk to people and preach to the choir, I think that's one thing. How do we take this choir and make it loud and maybe become carolers, if you will? I'll use a nice metaphor for the season here, and maybe go more door to door to bringing others into this loop and creating the education and the opportunity, because it isn't about less, it isn't about sacrifice, it is really about better. And we can build a better Southwest Michigan, a better Michigan, and a better US when it comes to, quite frankly, the resources in the companies here, but also in the individuals here. I think we have the opportunity to do that in a great way. And I think we have voices, and Kelly's giving us more voices. I think there's others this forum who are, and how do we take advantage of those? And I think for me is we have to take some personal accountability to do that. And it's up to us to do it. And I'm willing to partner with others here, as well as to bring that to the table myself.
I'll follow Ron again here. It's leadership is leading. It's not followership here. So we all have our circle of influence amongst our peers and our friends and our colleagues. And we have to maintain that leadership of taking that risk, sorry about the Band-Aid, of stepping out, getting out of that comfort zone, not just for us, but for our circle of influence, to expand that in Southwest Michigan that we're all part of here. So Is it any one thing? No, it's not. But it's maintaining conversations through forums such as this, and to share ideas. I mean, I have a very narrow portion of this pie on sustainability. You all make up the other portions of the pie. And unless we get together, I will never see the rest of the pie.
Yeah, I think Ron made a great point. I think it's all about collaboration, and avenues like this really help spur collaboration, and have those conversations. So, we're looking at redesigning our whole supply chain, and there's a lot of new opportunities for other businesses and people, like-minded individuals, to get involved. And I think at Bronson, that's what we're passionate about, is taking all those resources, if it's people, if it's monetary resources, or certain things that we have just by being a healthcare institution, and using those to uplift other people within the community. For example, with our local food procurement, we spend about $2 million per year with local farmers, and I think we're up to 46% of our food budget is now going to local people, including Joe's farm, who he just had a kid at one of our hospitals. And so I think we're looking for those opportunities locally, to find someone who grows organic eggs and we can help support and bring up. And so I think there's so many more of those opportunities, and I think things like this and sustainable business forums bring those to light. So
Yeah, I'm echoing what you guys have already said already. I think what we're hearing a lot about from the US, we're hearing it a lot in the UK, and even just locally, that coming out of this pandemic, we want to build back greener and have the environment part of the conversation with our economies. And I think this is a great time to shift our mentality on different things. And having this forum is a really good opportunity to share these ideas. And what I kind of talk about in my podcast is that, one person can make a difference, and then we're kind of the ripple effect. And then that goes back to Ron's point of being uncomfortable and telling your family and your friends about these ideas and putting yourself out there and understanding where they're coming from as well. Because we all have different experiences and they're all valid experiences. But I think at the end of the day, people do want to build back better, and people do love the environment and their local communities. And so I think we do have the power to make a really good change. And it just goes back to reframing our minds. Changing habits that's a very hard thing to do, especially when we've been so used to doing things so well for many, many years. We've never had anything like this. So this is a really good opportunity for innovation. And I think we can all play a part in that.
Well said. Absolutely. Any particular action items that anyone would like to see as we challenge the forum to respond to this? So from the forum in particular. I think that, the strategic plan that I had gone over, that we had put together at the beginning of the meeting, I think embodies what you've been saying, but I didn't know if there was anyone that had specifically any points that they would like to make on that.
I guess for me, again, I'm not a business leader necessarily, but I am talking to a bunch of people and seeing what's going on in my own community. And I think this forum, I think your goals cover it, but the forum is a really good place to share ideas, but we need a unifying voice for different companies, different industries to be able to talk to each other and have ideas. I don't know if this is a thing that's happening in our communities, but I know restaurants are having a very hard time trying to stay afloat. And these businesses, I mean, they're very important. They feed a lot of people, but also they're all people too, trying to support their families. maybe there's better ways that they can learn from each other. I don't know if there's some sort of unifying voice that can provide lessons learned to, you know, local restaurants, for example.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the coming year, I think this is where, quite frankly, we have a lot of challenges too, as well in Southwest Michigan. I think if you look at social and economic and inequality and the impacts of, both, on our communities, but in, the environment and the intersection of that, we have some opportunities to change the game. And as Kelly said, we're all out of our habits now. So there's no excuses that, oh, I have to change my habit. Guess what? We don't have any, because I don't think my habit has been sitting in the basement here. So, or as others I'm sure have, and hopefully my internet doesn't crack with the three kids at school upstairs. I think this is an opportunity and a unique one for us to step in and change that game a little bit. And I think it can start with small things. And, I think, how do we bring about those who are struggling in the community, and create those steps to better resiliency, and resiliency not by shuttering in, but resiliency in the form of transformation. And I think that's one that we can and should do. I think something super small, because I like to try to at least give small things, right? I sit in a legal department, and we had an opportunity to reformat. We had to our holiday celebration, and we decided to do that with small businesses that have sustainable products. And we did a whole gift basket, everything from grainer farms to hoof to hanger. I don't know if you guys know, there's a farm sheep to mill to yarn to do felt soap, right? So you're practicing, the ability to make your soap last longer, be less messy, and it scrubs your hands better. Made with local sheep and a local mill, and from local artisans, from local small businesses, right? To different things like that. And we put together a whole basket with the fun packing cellulose packaging, right? That dissolve, that were invented here in Southwest Michigan because someone's dog choked on styrofoam peanuts, right? So there are great stories and the ability to really interact and support them, but also support those that are really trying to come about with sustainable products. And I think that's a small thing, right? It's some we had to change anyway. We weren't going to do the sit down meal at Surrett and those kind of things. So we had to think differently, but we took an opportunity, one, to promote those small businesses that are struggling. How did we promote at the same time sustainable products? And wow, they can be better. In that sense, dryer balls, for example, that, we're a laundry company. How do you get rid of the single use, sheet that you throw it out every day, and get it into more of a something that's regenerative? So there are small things that you can do in outreach. And I think, take that step and to do that. And I think in the next year, I think there are going to be challenges, quite frankly, when it does, there is a light at the end of this tunnel. We will come out of this. How do we maintain that focus, that we can be better? And I think that'll be the hard thing next year, honestly, not to fall back into that trap of what we had before, and really think about the innovative ways we can move it forward.
That's perfect. And that leads us right into the next question. How will we define success in the upcoming year? When, what do we think on behalf of, your work or the forum or the community, all three? How do we know that we've been successful?
Some of these businesses will survive. If they haven't survived, we haven't been successful. And as far as, I'll give you an example. We helped install solar for a new microbrewery in Buchanan early this year. Guess when their opening was? In March. So we've done everything we can to go through social media to promote takeout there. We've done education forums. We've helped them with putting out information regarding that business's efforts to be sustainable, to provide vehicle charging at their place. If we who are in a position to continue working and generating income to promote these businesses that are struggling, especially restaurants who even now can't do indoor seating, and they were able to do outdoor seating, but it's too cold now. So it's incumbent upon us who are still able to keep our head above water now to do our best to promote those, to get them through this winter. Because if we can't, that's another small businesses that are going to fail. And if we can maintain our ability to promote these smaller businesses and get them through this winter, that will be a sign of success. And if we don't, it'll just be more small businesses that are going to succumb to this.
I mean, what I see as success is kind of a paradigm change of sorts, where seeing businesses do things differently. For example, we were going through a parking redesign at the hospital with so many parking spots and ramps and things like that. Our main hospital is located in downtown Kalamazoo, and now we don't have any parking problems. And so what I kind of see as a success is if we can build off of these, things that if it's telehealth or certain other services, that we might be able to optimize businesses and communities. I would much rather build a low-income housing development on our surface lot at the hospital instead of, having a giant parking lot that cars just sit in all day. So what I would see as success is if businesses and people can take the lessons learned from this and kind of build the economy and build things up in a different, new way to, help people and help, the environment all at once.
And I agree with everything you guys have already said. I think if we can minimize or prevent businesses from going out of business, that's definitely the biggest thing. I think also my husband and I were just talking about this, that we're both just craving that in-person human contact with friends and family, and I think we're all feeling that, especially right now with it cold and with the holidays coming up. And usually when you're feeling that, when you can finally be with people, you've got a lot of energy, and I think we can harness that energy. Not to make a joke of me working on nuclear power here, but I think we can harness this energy to really make a difference. And like you said, take those lessons learned and be able to rethink and make new habits that are better for our communities and for our environment. So Ron's little tips were great. I think we should be looking at helping companies incorporate more sustainable practices, try and change our own habits, make little changes that could better ourselves and the environment, use less single-use plastics. There's just so many things we can do. So I think there's going to be a lot of good things coming with 2021.
Fingers crossed for sure. Yes, absolutely. All right. All right. I'm going to move into we've got a couple questions in the chat. First, Ron, let's see, Dana had requested maybe sharing the product list that you mentioned for the local businesses. That would be wonderful if we could share that out. Perfect. You just did. That was great timing.
And I don't want to promote one versus the other. These are just a quick list of some. There's quite a few, whether it's community supported agriculture. There's even a new one I've heard coming out for winter product through Greenhouse and some other things. So keep your ears to the ground on those. But yeah, there are tons of these. And like I said, these are just ones I've come across as just my wife and I and my work with Girl Scouts as we reach out to business owners. You see a lot of of these companies around, and quite fun. And some people probably don't know there's a 100-year chocolatier in Niles, Michigan that has a 19 mid-century World's Fair soda fountain in there from Chicago. So super cool, all made still from hand, from scratch, to some cool things like the felt stuff that the Sandpiper artisans do with hoof to hanger, locally produced yarn. So I mean, I think you could probably double or triple this list, and maybe that's what we can do. Start to add to this list. How do we start to create those opportunities? What Toasties is doing to put family run restaurants together to create gift cards for the holidays, that I know Dan is doing there, and some of the work I think is just awesome. And go out and support those. I think there's obvious opportunities to do that as individuals, and put the money where your mouth is, right? I think this is one way we can show our support. And quite frankly, who doesn't want wine and chocolate? Seriously. I think it's a pretty easy one. I don't know if that's a tough lift for anybody to do. From that standpoint, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing those. And you're absolutely right. We have another question from Gary Wood about electric vehicles. So, they are wonderful. The question he has is, how can we maintain our roads locally and statewide if the gas tax funds are diminished? Obviously, that gas tax fund would be, the revenue would be decreased significantly. So I think Art.
Well, that's been something that's been on a horizon that will never come here. Obviously, it's here. Any one of us who's been driving I-94, you're going to see more Leafs, definitely a lot more Teslas out there, and the EV density on 94 alone, or going up 31 along the coast, is increasing. And by the installation of DC fast charging stations that charge a fee that could help offset the loss in gas taxes there. I mean, yeah. Right now, most of your EVs are people who are your first adopters. Okay, no question about that. We've yet to see the Toyota Corolla of EVs yet. So we're not quite there yet, but the ones who are the first adopters, they're certainly able to pay an additional rate for public vehicle charging. And with the increased volume coming up, 94, 31, 10, that can be a great incentive for local businesses or local municipalities to host EV charging stations that, in order to provide the convenience, you pay an additional fee that can go to help offset the road taxes.
Yeah, and as I guess one of those early adopters, I have my Tesla, and quite frankly, thanks to AEP, I have my charger as well. So thank you, Indiana Michigan Power. They will help support that infrastructure because it does help them as well. But I think this is one where, if you look at registration taxes, I can attest to the fact that you do pay a quite hefty, let's say, surcharge on registration for EV surcharge to help cover some of that as well. So I think there are mechanisms in place, but it is a great topic to discuss. I think it's one that, I think that's the engagement in the policy side that needs to happen as we look at electrification across is becoming a huge conversation, even for us. We make gas appliances. It is already a huge conversation for us when we talk about the electrification of homes and what that means. So, and it won't just be mobility, it will be with homes and other things as well. So it's a great question. And I think there are some things in place like registration. To your point, Art, there's lots of, with the charging station, other things that can be incorporated as we go forward, because I don't know of anybody who says we have A grade roads. So that's maybe another thing we can improve. Yes.
Absolutely. All right. If anybody has any further questions, stick them right in the chat right now. Does anybody have any last thoughts that they'd like to share about the state of sustainability in Southwest Michigan? All right.
I think the future looks bright. How's that?
I like that.
No, thanks to Dana too, and putting in the chat the materials marketplace. I think that's great. More things like that, and maybe a suggestion back to you, Rose, from the forum standpoint. How do we start to create and disseminate the information of what's really happening? I think having a repository, keeping that in front of people. A lot of times, I'm subject to that too. I got Swiss cheese memory sometimes. Not quite as good as the cheese lady cheese, but we'll go with that. I think keeping that front and center, and how there are sustainable choices. I've been to River St. Joe. You can go there in the winter. They have heaters. It's awesome. Those are great things to do, I think, and that's as a forum, we can keep that up to front and keep those ideas. And how do we become more active in between meetings and not at meetings? And so I think maybe a challenge back to the forum as a founder myself. And bringing that to the table and making it more visible, if not annoying us, more to help refresh our memory, if you will. So maybe something back there in that direction, Russ.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. We did just get a question. Is anyone working with WMU or GVSU with their sustainability clubs? I'm going to go ahead and answer that just really quickly. So the forum actually has a working group called Michigan Campus Sustainability Working Group, and we have involved both WMU and GVSU in those efforts. And I'm not sure if anyone else wants to speak to your involvement with students and sustainability clubs there, but we are actively involved with both colleges.
Yeah, I've done some work with WMU and their Office for Sustainability, so they're doing some great work up there. I just wanted to say, keep asking questions of all different businesses. Most of us are business leaders or work in some type of business, but kind of sustainability touches everyone. I know healthcare is kind of one of those odd ones where you're going to go there because you need some help in some ways, but little things like anesthetic gases are actually one of the biggest greenhouse polluters. You could even ask what anesthetic gas they're using if you're going through a surgery. And there's all these little things that really add up. And so being more knowledgeable and just asking the right questions, no matter what business it is, there's probably some impact. So keep on asking those questions and keep informed, and then we can make better impacts. So, wonderful. Oh, and also Art or Ron, if you come up to Bronson Hospital or Bronson Methodist, we just installed 4 new electric chargers. You can charge for free there. So come on up.
Sweet.
Nice.
And ours at Whirlpool are open too for the public too, to charge for free in multiple facilities here in Southwest Michigan, at our global headquarters, behind our Benton Harbor Tech Center, and our North American headquarters. We have charging stations that are available there too.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone on the panel. Those were some excellent answers to the questions, and we're very excited to continue the journey through 2021 with our sustainability. Like I said, we believe we have some really exciting plans, and hope that everyone continues to be part of them. And check out our events and all of the information on those. And again, if you're interested in getting more involved, please contact me via either through membership or through getting involved with our task forces. Please let us know, and we would love to have you. So thank you again, and thank you to the panelists. Appreciate that.
Yep, and bring a friend. Thank you, Rose, and thank you. I know Dan in absentia, so I know he had a lot in the background as well. So I wish him and his family well, and all of you. So thank you, other panelists, for bringing your best today. So thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Are we done, Rose?
We are all set. Thank you guys all so much. I really appreciate it. Those were fantastic answers. It was a great discussion. Makes me more excited and looking forward to the future. So great positive outlooks while still addressing the challenges that we have right now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I must apologize. I got to run off to another appointment here.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
I wish everyone best for the holidays and the new year.
You as well.
2021. 2021.
Bye. Have a good one, everybody.
All right, see
Everyone.
Happy
ya.
holidays.
You too.